Hey everyone, let me get the lights on. Welcome to today's session. This might be one of the hardest workouts I've ever done. Let's see. Of course I gotta get paired up and everything. There we go. So today we got this. Some big 3-minute efforts into 30-15s and then 40-20s and then 30-30s at the end. So we'll see. It's gonna be a tough one, but I've been feeling pretty good. So hopefully I can complete this. We'll see. All right, let's go. Forgot to get the ring light set up. I'll add that for next time. Got about a 30-minute warm-up for this one. These long warm-ups definitely help me feel better by the time we get to the intervals. There's that question mark. I can't remember what that is. It's the Zwift spin, the mystery spin. Is that what it is? I think it's something like that. Can't remember if it's a route or a segment. It might be a full route. My heart rate's quite high, which isn't necessarily a bad sign, but I want to calm down a little bit so that it's not crazy high during the hard intervals. Nice. I'm gonna get one of those soon. Let me know how you like it. I've seen them for a long time, but I'm excited to race on one. Oh, nice. Yeah, sales are always good. I'm always on the lookout for those, for cycling gear, especially indoor gear. I feel like this time of year is usually a pretty good time to buy because a lot of people are kind of transitioning to outdoor riding. Whereas, yeah, if you try to buy indoor gear in like maybe September or October, it might be way more expensive because everyone's trying to stock up. But yeah, right now could be a good time. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the gym that my wife and I go to, It was so busy in January. Like you had to go at like 7:30 p.m. or 5:30 a.m. Otherwise, all the machines were taken. Everything was full. If you went at 5:30 or 6 p.m. after work, it was just packed. Now it's dying down. By the time you get to March, it's more manageable. Probably go again tonight. Legs are starting to come around now. Usually takes me about 15-20 minutes to feel pretty good. At the beginning of the ride, I'm usually quite stiff, especially if I've been sitting at my desk all day. Heart rate's quite high today, but after a day off, I took a rest day yesterday. Usually extra fresh. Usually a good thing. Sometimes it's a little bit too much, but hopefully today I feel pretty good. Four more minutes of this block, and then we'll get into the zone 2, zone 3 part of the warm-up. I actually am on erg mode right now. I'm on the Elite Justo 2, so the power isn't watt for watt exactly what the target is. But I kind of like that. I like a little bit of fluctuation because it feels more natural on the pedals rather than, just riding through a wall of power. This is a bit smoother So I like it a lot. Yeah, heart rate's super high today, so sometimes it comes down after the warm-up, like after the 20-30 minute mark. Once I kind of clear that lactate from the warm-up and then get into the rest of the workout, sometimes it calms down a bit. Tips on how to learn standing efforts at a high power. Honestly, it's probably a boring answer, but it's just do more of that. So if you want to get better at putting out high power in a standing position, just do more of it. Do more of your riding out of the saddle. Do more of your hard interval sessions out of the saddle. Of course, you don't want to overdo it too much. I don't think I would ever recommend 100% out of the saddle riding. But if you're only focused on indoor cycling, indoor training, indoor performance, there's no penalty to being out of the saddle all the time. If you're racing outside, it's different, but if you're only riding indoors, you can train it as much as you want. So, yeah, I would say do your hard interval sessions out of the saddle. Maybe not 100%, so like if you're doing 30-30s, maybe you stand up for the hard part of the 30-30s, sit down for the rest period. That's typically what I do. But you can play around with that a lot and improve. And give yourself time. I think that's the biggest thing, is don't expect your life to change in 1 or 2 weeks of training. It's typically going to take a bit longer than that. So if you try a new technique, try a new training plan, a new coach, you can really, most of the gains come after a few weeks or a couple of months of training. Very rarely will you see huge significant gains in the first week or two. So you have to commit for a little bit longer. So now we're getting into the high zone 2 part of the warm-up. I'll see how my heart rate responds here. I expect it to be around 145 to 150. We'll see if it stabilizes for the next 8 minutes. And then we'll do 3 minutes at like a high zone 2, low zone 3 type of effort, 315 watts. I'll do that probably more seated at a high cadence. Activate as many muscles as possible. You're very welcome. That's a great question. I know a lot of people wonder about that for indoor training and indoor racing. Lots of guys at the highest level, they stand up all the time. It's not a secret. They really just practice it a lot and get better at it, get stronger. And when you're talking about a free indoor cycling app, pretty sure there's only one. I think it's, my Whoosh is probably the only platform that I know of that's completely free. But let's see. Oh wow. So you did this workout, Cleveland, with 2-minute intervals. So were those anaerobic efforts? Like what was the, like for me, these are high VO2 max for 3 minutes, not quite anaerobic. I'm curious how hard yours was. Nice, Goldie, that's a good one. Yeah, it's like, if you just keep working at it, you'll improve and get stronger. There's no secret technique when it comes to standing on the indoor trainer. Yeah, I would say, compared to a lot of guys, I'm pretty new to indoor racing. I only started in 2020, whereas there's some guys that have been doing it since Zwift was in beta. What was that? 2013, 14 or 15? Sometime around then. Yeah, it took me a while to get on there. I was more focused on outdoor training and racing for a very long time. So the heart rate's staying pretty stable, low 150s, a bit higher than normal, but I feel good. That's the important part. Thank you. You too. Oh yeah, Race to the Lake. I love that race. One of my favorite road races of all time. I'm hoping it works out with my schedule this year, because that's a good one. Okay, John, let's see. So you can hold a higher heart rate during threshold work, whereas the VO2 max efforts, heart rate is much lower. So do you mean your heart rate is higher on the run during threshold work and lower on the bike during VO2 max work? Because first of all, I think it's very difficult to compare efforts from two different sports because your physiology is going to be a little bit different. The muscles that you're recruiting, your internal effort is going to be slightly different. So the heart rate might not match up exactly, but I'm curious, you say threshold and VO2 max for two different sports. So are you comparing it to like power output, like running power output and cycling power output? Because yeah, if those zones are different, it's going to be hard to compare. I would say the VO2 max work, heart rate is not the best metric to use because of heart rate lag. So if you're doing a 4-minute VO2 max interval, your heart rate probably won't get to zone 4, zone 5 until halfway through the interval, even at the target power output. So it's kind of hard to measure based on that. Like, you can't look at the average heart rate for that interval. It's just going to be lower than a threshold interval, because at threshold, those intervals are going to be longer, 8, 10, 12 minutes, maybe even 15 or 20. So you're going to sit at that higher heart rate for longer. So I'd consider all that, and don't compare them directly. It's not the exact same thing, but it is a little curious for sure. I'll increase the cadence to about 100 RPM the last minute 20. My max heart rate is in the 190s, maybe 192, 193. Yeah, that's a big difference between the bike and the run heart rates. It also depends how long you've been doing each sport, how well trained you are. Because the better trained you are, the more adapted your effort will be. All right, 5 minutes of recovery, and then we'll get into the first big block of VO2 max efforts. Gotta get the EDM going for this next block, the electronic music. Yeah, I would say for your heart rate, never ever compare your heart rate to anyone else's. It's a totally individual metric. You can't compare it between riders, only compare it to yourself. Of course you can use it as like an interesting point, but I would never say try to get your heart rate lower or higher compared to anyone else. You can compare it to your own efforts over time, like heart rate drift and zone training and all that, but never compare it to anyone else's. All right. Maybe I'll go up the volcano KLM for this first effort. There we go. Nervous. Here we go. We just gotta commit. One more. Nice. Nice. Last one for this set. Ouch. Whew. This is hard. About as hard as I expected. Now I got 5 more minutes to recover. Then I do another round, this time with 40-20s instead of 30-15s. Same power targets though. So it'll be interesting to see, I'm a little tired, interesting to see which one feels harder. Although it is impossible to compare because I was fresh for the first set. Now I'll be a little bit fatigued the second set. But I'm also more warmed up, more activated. Got my nutrition from the feed today. I really need it. Like a workout like this, that's more than 90 minutes, and 3 VO2 max sets that are about 8 to 10 minutes. That's a great question, Zachary. I haven't failed a workout in a while. I don't want to jinx it, but the third set today scares me. I don't know why I decided to make the final 3-minute effort harder and the power targets higher. I want to push myself. I want to see if I can do it. The main thing is I just need to push myself as hard as I can and not give up. If my legs can't do it, my legs can't do it. But I can't be mad if I try my best. Or I can't be disappointed, I can say. Turn on to the climb portal for these last 2 sets. My stomach is a little all over the place. I had bicarb before this. Usually it's okay, but some days the stomach feels a little weird. Thank you. Yeah, I agree. 1 or 2 sets like this would be enough to get really good training adaptations, but I want to see what I can do today. See if I can do all 3 sets. All right, 1 minute to go. Yeah, the bicarb I do is just the store-bought stuff, and I mix it in with a bunch of other of the pre-workout things that I have, so it doesn't taste the same or have the same consistency as if you just took bicarb on its own. All right, here we go, 10 seconds. Let's go. I'm a bit dizzy. I think I'm gonna lower the power for the last set. This is crazy hard. I'm contemplating if I should have another gel or not. My stomach is kind of topsy-turvy right now, but it might help. Let's do it. I'll have half a gel, how about that? Go. Final set. I'll be very happy if I can complete this. Last one. All out. Out. Oh. The 30-30s were definitely the easiest of the sets, but the 3-minute efforts, I couldn't have gone more on the last one. It was 3 minute at 475, and that was all out. $495 was the original target for that interval. Maybe I could have done it, but then to go straight into the 30-30s, I feel like I would have been compromising the rest of the interval. I wanted the 3-minute efforts to be like 98% effort. Like 100% means, in my mind, that means you're sprinting for the finish line at the end of that interval. It means you can't pedal anymore when you hit the end. So in a workout like this, the intervals are never 100% all out, because you have to recover quickly and go right into the next one. So I'm really happy with that. To do all 3 of those, starting at 3 minute 475. That's huge for me. I mean, my 3-minute all-out effort is probably somewhere around 530, 535 watts. So to do 475 repeats into the VO2 max efforts, definitely happy with that. Yes, this is the same workout that Neil did. I think he did it last week. He said he got it from at Laverack. So I did a slightly different version today. I don't think mine is the exact workout fit file that they used. Some of the intervals might have been slightly different. I know that Neil did more power. Like the first 3-minute effort, he did 520 watts straight into the 30-15s. I couldn't have done that today. Maybe in the future I'll try that, like a completely depleting effort, and then see how well I can hold on. Go watch Neil's workout and see what his power targets were. I know they were higher than mine, but I think mine were pretty close. I think he's 1 or 2 kilos lighter than me as well, which makes a big difference. But let's see. He did this a week ago. So let's see. He did 520, and then he did 30-15s at 495 and 230. So I did the same 495 and I did 215, so close. His recoveries were a little bit higher than mine. And then the second one, I think he did 490 watts for 3 minutes. And then the 40-20s, he did 490 and 230. I did 495, 215. And for me, that was basically all out. That was the hardest I went during this session, was those 40-20s. Which is crazy because normally in a good 40-20 session, I could probably do 8 repeats at 550 and 200, or 540 and 250. But today, with that 3-minute effort just before it, it was so much harder. And the final interval, let's see, I think he did about 475, 480, maybe even less, 465 for 3 minutes. And then he did, oh, the last one was 30-15s. So I did that differently. I mean, I think it works both ways. The stimulus is quite similar with the VO2 max, but I think for me, there's no way I could have repeated the first set in the last set. Those 30-30s helped me get through it. Yeah, that's a good question. So like, let's see. To recover from this workout, the goal is by Sunday, I'll feel 100% recovered for my Whoosh SRC. So today, have this super high intensity workout. Tomorrow, heat training. Saturday, just zone 1. Sunday, I'll probably do an easy spin before the race at noon. So by Sunday morning, I should feel 100%. Let's see, how about I go over to Tempest Fugit to cool down. My VO2 max, if I had to guess, based on the numbers that I have and some of the calculations and estimates that I've done, I might actually write an article about this soon. My VO2 max is probably somewhere in the mid to high 70s, 75 to 78, somewhere around there. I don't think it's not ultra elite. It's not like 85 to 90, but it's quite high, it's quite good. Yeah, and to do efforts like this, you have to have that big VO2 max engine. If you can do it for 3 or 4 minutes, that's like sustained. It's crazy. Nice one, yeah. Anything above 6 watts a kilo for 3 or 4 minutes is really, really good. Yeah, for 5 minutes, you're talking about close to the elite level of cycling. Pro level is closer to 6.5 to 7. But yeah, 6 is definitely elite. Very, very strong. And the raw power makes a big difference too. Oh yeah, 300 watts. Yeah, so you're quite a light rider. Yeah, if you were 80 kilos, 6 watts a kilo for 5 minutes is massive. It's almost 500 watts. I wouldn't say you have no raw power. Anything over 300 is solid raw power. And yeah, if you have that kind of watts per kilo on climbs, that can be a big asset. I think this train is going to be moving too fast for me to get in the draft. Maybe I can hop in here. Are they going left or straight? They might be going straight. Yeah. All right, see you guys later. Yeah, the 20-minute watt per kilo for esports cycling isn't as beneficial for most races. Most courses are flat, but depending on the races you do and the different courses, there are some courses that have longer climbs or even a time trial with a climb or even like a hill climb time trial. From those efforts. Those big high power efforts out of the saddle, I tend to use my lower back quite a bit to get the power into the pedals. It's okay for a short amount of time. It definitely helps, but for longer efforts, it really takes a toll. Like I can't do that for an entire hour-long race. Oh, nice. So you got a good, well-rounded power profile. if you have the really strong 5-minute, as well as the 5 to 30 second power and the 20-minute power. So it's like, well, the only thing you're lacking is the raw power, maybe. That's, otherwise, it doesn't sound like you have a big weakness. So you hit 1,000 watts at 50 kilos? 20 watts a kilo? That is crazy. That is pro level sprinting. Nice one. I think the most I've ever done is 17.5 watts a kilo for 1 second. Maybe 18. It was in the eSport National Championships. I hit 1,300, just over 1,300 watts for like 1 or 2 seconds. Oh yeah, definitely. I think when you're talking about watts per kilo, when you're only 45 to 55 kilos, you can hit that really high watt per kilo, but it might only be 1,000 watts, which is still very good. Hey James, yeah, I think it's hard to say because I definitely did more raw power than Ed would do for this workout, but he's quite a bit lighter than me. I want to say, I think I could be wrong, but I think he's around 64 kilos, and I am at 71 right now. So quite a big difference in size. So I think watt per kilo wise, we're probably very similar for this type of workout. Those 3-minute efforts, he's probably doing 6.5 to 7 watts a kilo. And then same thing for the 30-15s and 40-20s. But for him, that's probably 440 to 450 watts, whereas I'm doing 475 to 500. So on a climb, we're probably right next to each other. But yeah, on a flat road, my raw power would be going faster than him. Yeah, I love his goal. That's a cool series. 400 for 20 minutes at his size would be super impressive. I think, yeah, if I were to go for a 20-minute test right now, probably somewhere around 420 to 430. I think, what did I do in a race a couple weeks ago? It was it 410 or 415 for 12 minutes at the end of a 1-hour race, and including the last 3 minutes of that effort at like 470. So if I could do that fatigue in a race, I think a one-off effort, I could definitely do 10 to 20 watts more. I think on Zwift my PR is over 400. Yeah, 404 for 20 minutes. I mean, in this workout I did 354 for 20, and that was just including the 200 watt 6-minute recoveries in between the sets of VO2 max. So the normalized for 20-30 minutes in this workout was probably over 400. I haven't used a lactate meter yet. I would really like to. I was talking to a company about getting a continuous lactate monitor and testing that. I'd really like to do that, but I haven't done that yet. I'd really like to though. All right, let's see what the peak power outputs for this one. Yeah, the road to 450 is going very well. Definitely getting stronger, like week to week, month to month. I'm gonna retest my power with a ramp test next week. So watch out for that. That's coming up probably on Wednesday. I'll post that stream. It'll probably be around noon. local time, so noon Central Time for me, evening European time. Probably next Wednesday I'll do a ramp test and go for over 400. That's the goal for that one. But yeah, I started at, I think the first test was 387 watt FTP in December. So if I can be over 400 right now, I'm really happy with that progress. So let's see. So yeah, that was a big session. 1700 kJs in an hour 40. Let's upgrade this bike really quick. Oh, and I got the new headgear. Nice. That's cool. And I got the Volcano jersey right now. So the frame, oh, I did upgrade it. I only have one more upgrade on this bike. Getting closer to the specialized Halo bike. So let's see. For that session, it was, yeah, max heart rate 179. Normally in a workout, if I'm at 180, that's all out. That's everything that I have. Wow, look at that. Yeah, so that it would probably, the first or second set, it was 410 for almost 12 minutes, and that included all the over-unders. So yeah, 3 minutes at 474, 30 second, that last effort at 545, half an hour at close to 370. Yeah, that was a crazy hard workout. How do I get I want a screenshot of this. How do I do this? I have no idea what I'm doing. Screenshot. There we go. That's all for today. So to answer the last few questions here, big off season. I had a decent off season in, when was that? It was around my wedding and honeymoon in mid-October last year. I had like 1 to 2 weeks of basically no training. I stayed active with like a few runs. I did like, my wife and I did a beach cruiser ride on our honeymoon, and I did like some mountain bike rides, like zero training, like zero structured training, but I stayed active for probably 3 or 4 days out of like 2 weeks. And then that was my off season basically. And then came back to structured training by the end of October. So I've had a few months of build up, which I'm really happy with. Oh, I can do it from the companion app too. Thank you. That's a great tip. I did not know that. All right. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. I'll be back tomorrow with a heat training session. Thanks for watching. See you next time.